Whatever I call Trixler that all the time because his first name is Tim. But on the way, we got the battleground for game number 3 here again between Team 12. Man, every single time. Tempo Storm taking us to Cursed Hollow, one of the higher priority maps for Tempo Storm. Normally a map ban for Team 12. So Team 12 not too comfortable here, knowing that we're going to be going here.
Okay, so again, giving up or taking first pick is what Team 12 did. When you lose, you get a choice of, do I want map pick or do I want it first pick? And in this case, they want first pick. Again, Tempo Storm has not looked good from second pick. The other thing to note is we saw Garrosh ban in the first game, let Maiev through. Last game, Garrosh let through, picked up by Tempo Storm. Since coming back from the clash, Tempo Storm, when they have Garrosh Diablo, which both do well on this battleground, they're undefeated so far in 8 games. So there has to be a priority on that, or at least to defend against that. The Tyrael that we talked about last time, obviously different battleground, maybe have different priority to deal with one of those styles that could be coming in here from Tempo.
Yeah, and the thing also in the draft that I'm looking for here on the side of Team 12 is, number one, I don't want to say not Malthael as a secondary ban, but maybe looking towards something else here, because the Dahaka has got to be on the minds of Tempo Storm. It has been the go-to, especially if they're going to have the same priority, onto the Blaze that we saw from them before. And the next is, I had something else actually to add on to that. I'll probably figure it out as we get through this draft. We are ready for it here between these two teams. And also, on the note of the Garrosh, the fact that it's gone over to Tempo Storm, when we look towards last week's series, the impact that it had, whenever Fury was able to pick that up for Gale Force Esports versus Team 12, we were sitting there going, like, how are they letting this go through? It just makes you wonder, where's the priority here for Team 12 on Garrosh?
Well, the other thing that I'm really curious on is Greymane. And where does Greymane fall on this draft?
Yeah.
And it's something that Team 12 experimented with a Greymane Rhaegar, had really good rotational control on this battleground. Tempo Storm does have that priority at times on Greymane, and I feel that with the first 3 picks, if Tempo Storm doesn't pick it up in their 1-2 slot, then Team 12 might want to try and pick that up before second ban.
Taking a little bit here to consider what is going to be that first pickup.
I see Phoenix unavailable. I wonder what the meta is going to look like when Phoenix changes to.
Oh my. First pick, Dahaka.
I had some notes. They're just going to go out the window.
What are we seeing here? All right. So obviously, putting attention towards the offlane is now very important for Team 12.
I don't see why they don't pick up Blaze in this rotation if I'm Tempo Storm.
I agree with you. If I'm Tempo Storm, I absolutely want to pick it up. The main fear would be, well, we think we need the Malthael into the Garrosh potential, but I don't know if that's strong enough an argument to move into it. The biggest thing here is just going to be, mainly with this priority, does this pay off for Team 12, right? Because we started the series talking about it. I personally feel like it's been shown multiple times here. The biggest weakness here for Tempo Storm has got to be manipulating the offlane. The hero pool even kind of, supports that when we look at some of the numbers, and they're doing that. They're looking towards it. It's just whether or not is that too much and too much in the wrong area being committed to it, especially a first pick Dahaka. This isn't like you pick ban, second ban phase around somebody. You are first picking around it. That is bold to say the least.
Even at his height, I guess it would have been about 10 months ago, 11 months ago.
When he had 3 HP bars and did as much shredding and damage to the backline as like Sylph could, like old Sylph post 16. Don't even. But you know what I'm saying here, right? Like that is when he sat at the top of the meta.
Sometimes you open the door, I'm taking the invite,
yeah,
I'm walking in.
Yeah.
Now, Garrosh obviously let through. We talked about the Tyrael being one of the better counters towards that. Genji, if he gets in range and gets taunted, obviously that's a problem. But with Tyrael being there as the protector, that's something that they can definitely play around. The Tyrael pick in particular, it's not something we've seen Glaurung pick before. So that they're committed to that as a solo main tank. There's the Greymane priority, picking it up here before the second ban. I like this a lot.
I need to see a Hanzo ban out of Team 12, though. If they're going to commit to the Greymane in that rotation from them, I feel like finding a way to rid of that kind of double boss threat is absolutely something you got to do against Tempo Storm. They already beat you in boss control. They have Tyrael, the one, kind of supreme overlord of boss control within this current meta, having 2 major tools to capitalize on top of that. ETC isn't too shabby, though, so not something too afraid of. Tempo Storm, considering what they want to rid of in their bans. Trying to figure out.
There's actually a weird dynamic to this.
Okay.
So Genji can be played by either Fan or Som.
Yeah.
More recently, it's been Som allowing Fan to flex over on whatever. He hasn't played Genji in a while. But Fan doesn't play Hanzo. So if they're going to make that change, is that something that maybe Team 12 can be like, all right, look,
that's a good point.
There was some Genji play at Clash, I'm just going to say, that was a little bit off at times, Cursed Hollow being one of those maps.
Yeah, specifically talking about Fan on Genji. It was a bad time for
It
North
was a
America.
little weird. So we'll see. We also still have to consider Tracer at some point. It's something we haven't talked about. And when you ban an Uther, obviously going with the Tyrael Genji, have that double invulnerability, take that out of the equation, but also take away a potential Tracer counter. Because when you look at Tyrael, no hard CC. And so if that's something you want to play around, you can get to those back areas. You don't get point and click stunned by Uther. You don't get hit by Tyrael. So
I love the ban, to be honest. It does also remove a lot of kind of potential toward, not a lot of the potential, but at least decentivize a little bit. And he's Sonya. That's somebody else on the side lane. We haven't brought up that I do think Tempo wouldn't be afraid to move into, especially when you see the Genji and the Tyrael picked up, right? Like, that's already a pretty synergistic composition, does well into the Dahaka. It doesn't do too bad on the boss control itself. But I'm just trying to come up with, other than the, if we don't see the Blaze out of them, we've seen the one Malthael, kind of case example. What else are we going to see? And you don't pick Tyrael as a solo warrior most of the time. You normally want him with somebody else.
Blaze is still available. So the one thing that is something to keep in mind, Tyrael, Genji don't offer the interrupt towards a mosh pit. So with Uther being taken out, does that force you down the Junkrat route?
With Tyka's banned out, you'd think so.
Ooh.
All right, we're getting a little wild here. Falstad, Alex Straza. Okay, maybe actually pretty wild. Both of those together? I mean, they were great at resetting a fight and opening in amazing terms. Alex can cycle her W around the Falstad Gust, which puts you in a position to just be like, I heal everybody for way too much HP. And the one concern Alex has is, can I get this off? And she can do that, get the reinitiation. But most of the time, those are one of those, if you do that and the team fight still looks even, then you go, well, now we're down 2 major cooldowns and we have to take the team fight even. So it's going to be an interesting composition here for Tempo. But I will say, I think that Falstad says a lot more than that. Depending on if we still see the Dahaka picked up later in these drafts, Tempo may be hinging on having a global for a lot of their drafts in their play style to function.
There's so much to be said about this. Malfurion's still available. This is an outside shot where I'd actually be okay with a Karazim pickup coming in from Buds. There's no lockdown on the other side. You get that dive potential. Bam, we get it.
No, that's actually a really good point. Didn't think about that, but I mean, Alex Straza, Falstad, Genji, and Tyrael, every single one of those is an extremely good target for the Karazim. To be able to trade into Genji, you can have the option of, kind of threatening, making him zone out, especially if you move in the Iron Fist. Falstad absolutely despises Karazim because you can't barrel roll away from him. You actually have to gust him in some situations. Alex, I mean, let's be real here. That 1v1 isn't that close. And then Tyrael is, well, you have no, lockdown towards the front line. Blaze is the biggest threat, and even then in jet propulsion, pretty easy to get the dodge.
I wish I had my Leeming stats for Dansky.
Double reset, isolation comp. I mean, Team 12's draft is like the dream 6 months ago.
Yeah, no, I was thinking
like,
the exact same
how do you
thing.
get this comp 6 months ago? I mean, you have double resets with the opener of the ETC, get the isolation, Curse Bullet comes in, Li Ming locks it down, Karazim's punching away, bam, there's your first reset, and you just keep going from that point on. You have Dahaka on the side soak, making things happen, not too worried about the Blaze pressure. It's going to be interesting.
I really want to see how Team 12 starts this game. The Cursed Hollow game had the Rhaegar, had the Greymane that I was talking about before.
Yeah.
Did really well sieging into it. If you do go Iron Fist Karazim, plus you have the ETC, just uses any of his abilities to get that armor to soak some of those tower shots, and you have Greymane as well, you just get in there, rip through one of the early structures, and that's something I think you have on your side. Falstad, Genji don't necessarily have the same sieging opportunities that a Greymane, Li Ming, an ETC, and a Karazim added to it have.
It's going to be interesting. We got game 3 here between Tempo Storm and Team 12 about to unfold. We're just letting you guys see multiple angles here.
There's actually a game going on. No.
At some point, we have game number 3. We'll let you know when we get it. We might have to end up getting a remake here. We're trying to figure that out really quick. Thanks for sticking with us here. But
Hold up.
I think the one thing that's going to be very interesting in this game is Tempo went with the Falstad, right? Post 7, does well into the Dahaka. At the later stages, the fear of the global is not going to be as problematic. It's just whether or not we can see Team 12 find ways to get ganks on that false set for that side soak, and whether or not that is even going to be something where we see Team 12 commit too much to the Dahaka, because I feel like this is Team 12 when we're going with a bold move. We're first picking the Dahaka, but then as the draft moved on, they're losing the off lane post 7, and more importantly, once those first forts start falling down, that Blaze is not going to be that guy out there spewing out those lanes. He's going to be in a different lane, making double pressure, so Falset deals with Dahaka, and then somebody else has to answer Blaze.
You said post 7, and the first thing that clicked to my mind was another hero that didn't get picked up, who's been meta, has been Hanzo. And you mentioned the potential double boss play. Having a gray main Hanzo, that shreds bosses. Instead, they committed, I think, more towards a team fight-oriented Li Ming, Dansky on Li Ming. I believe that's who we're going to have on there. Is pretty impactful in terms of what we got. But we got ourselves the game here as we get ready here for game number 3 as the series tied up 1-1.
Dansky actually on the gray main here.
Yeah.
We're going to have Cure on that Li Ming instead. Not so much as a mix-up, but a bit of one. Both of these guys, obviously, depending on what moment of their professional career you look in, both are very, very comfortable on both the heroes.
Dansky's been their only Li Ming player up to this date, so definitely a change. 7 games for Dansky. And here's that trade I was talking about. Tempo Storm expected this. If you're going against the team, your quickest path is directly to the mid lane. You get a head start, that way you don't have the same deficiency. We'll see Dahaka, he'll brush Stalker to the bottom. You can keep an eye on that on the minimap. But this 4-man composition just shredding this lane trend.
Yeah, both teams perfectly playing out this early game so far. Team 12, though, now they're going to get 5-man collapse, or excuse me, 4-man collapse on by Tempo Storm. Can they get out in time? There's not a lot of lockdown.
There's
no
CC.
CC.
Yeah. There's a slow, but that's pretty much it.
There's the collapse, ladies and gentlemen. Part of the reason you and I talk about, Tyrael, crowd control, some of the pairings, some of those things, oftentimes why I'm critical of Johanna. Condemn is not the easiest thing, although post-rework, giving her that beautiful level 4 at the level 4 talent here has made it a lot easier for her to be successful. But it's just, lacking that hard crowd control, and that's going to be something we keep our eyes out through the entirety of this game.
This is an interesting trade-off here as we see Buds and Dansky move down towards this night camp, and I wonder how aggressive they'll be with this. You look on the other side, Falstad, as you said, his wave clear doesn't really become more impactful until level 7 when he gets Boomerang. Genji, not so great at the poke, so I wonder if we might see another 4-man collapse, maybe even a full 5-man collapse if they want to keep Dahaka around, maybe try and trade out this mid lane and come out ahead structurally here in the first few minutes.
I'm just afraid that in the later stages of the game, we're going to see Team 12 get too comfortable with the idea of how the game is quote-unquote supposed to be played versus how it needs to compositionally in this current game, right? And again, that comes down to the Goku's going to be used to the idea of like, well, I have Blaze off in the off lane, they're going to be able to trade. And right now you see him again kind of holding his own, but that is again pre-7 version of the Falstad. He just now hits 4, whereas the first time he becomes even a reasonable solo laner with hammer gains, then you get the Boomerang wave clear, and that is where suddenly Dahaka is like, oh, I actually struggle in lane to a ranged hero. And I just feel like it's going to be too much committed to that mentality, while Glarung, again, has a lot of pressure elsewhere. And the rest of the 4-man for Tempo is kind of cutting it up with that Genji.
The sheer lack of CC
is showing.
Who cares about 4-man? They literally just walked in with 3 people. Obviously, the key element, your tank, so you have Peel, your support there, and Karazim, who has a little bit of single target damage himself, and then Greymane obviously able to tear through that. They took that entire wall with 3 people. That is the difference in drafts right now in the early game. As you said, the perception of how it plays out later in the game, very different story.
Greymane ended up picking up the Giant Camp very late, so at least Tempo Storm knows they have a rotational advantage for a small time frame. They end up getting the vision over him. Actually, I don't think they have the vision on him on mid. Now they will, so they're going to comfortably be able to move up. June starts the channel, Justing only man to get an interrupt, throws out the W. Power slide in. Jet Propulsion trying to get the interrupt there. Nice job from Cure, able to stop June from that last channel.
Ooh, Li Ming just barely able to get that poke in. Cure trying to put it on there. The body blocking not enough so far. Remember, we still have Dragon Queen, so if this does eventually break out to a fight, you can actually see on the minimap Greymane making his way down. Dragon.
Yeah, Greymane did an amazing job, though, getting that clear up a mid. The problem is he's going to have to deal with the Genji 1v1 skirmish. Trades positively. Yeah. Dansky is very comfortable with that 1v1. And,
this is a big turnaround.
Yeah, and so what Tempo's relying on is the global on the one lane and then using the Alex Straza kind of survivability, which, by the way, is talentless, 7 levels deep. Is that real?
It might be. Oh,
now it shows up.
Yeah, I think he was trying to decide. I don't know. The first few, is that? Yeah, it's just, you know, June having a good time, I guess. Either way, Tribute still active. That siege camp that was picked up what seems like an eternity ago, Dreadnought, did indeed pick up that top fort.
Yeah, and so what I was going to say is they're relying on the out-sustain to be successful here, but their lack of, you know, wave clear on the other parts of the map is costing them. Greymane cycling mid, draws Genji. He can't keep up with this. Falstad is not to the point of being that kind of problem that I was so concerned about. He hasn't even hit season markman auto attack sex, so Tempo is relying on essentially a sustained advantage that Team 12 wasn't too concerned about. Team 12 is playing this very, very well. By no means are they, you know, pulling ahead colossally, but this is some of those concerns that we normally go, this is Tempo, only team doing this right now. And Team 12, they're very much showing that they are here to play today. This
is so crazy. I mean, there's the big power slide, going to hit onto 2 people. Dahaka, he's going to brush Stalker in, finally joining the fight, but the jet propulsion going to hit him instantly. You can see the big fight. Goku gets the tongue onto June.
It's enough to get the kill, even gets the burrow to keep himself alive. Glon goes in with a passive knockback from Justing, using that armor, Pyromaniac or Pyromancer, I forgot whatever the name is that is. It's not the 13 on Kel'Thas. Either way, he goes down.
Yeah, big time plays there. Obviously, Li Ming getting her reset in the middle of that, opening that fight up. And we're looking at 9.5 to 8.5. That tribute spawned at 3 minutes. That took over 2 minutes of total time for that to unfold. And the way this thing has unfolded in general is you're going to see this bottom lane open up as Dansky and Buds there on Karazim and Greymane. They'll be able to just beast this down. Level 10 picked up. See if they fall back for a boss after this.
Yeah, this is going to be a really telling moment for Team 12. What do they do with this 10 advantage? This is huge. But can they get as much? We've constantly been talking about Tempo Storm is a team that gets a lot out of their advantages, especially compared to some of the other teams here in North America. We'll see if Team 12 can do the same whenever they have that upper hand against the top of North America. They end up getting the bottom fort. See if they go for a boss play versus the Trib. I would argue Trib is worth more than a boss at this point in time, just because boss is going to meet that keep on bottom. Falstad gets an easy clear. Not worth your time. They're going to commit to it.
They commit to the boss. You know, another small learning thing there, if you know that you have the free advantage there, you can see Karazim actually put down his Earth ally. That also becomes a priority target for the fort, allowing them to stay directly on that a little bit longer, get that fort done a little bit quicker because they weren't taking that fort damage. So good heads-up play there. Level 10 almost here for Tempo Storm. They're going to even up the tribute count, but boss fully intact. Is this potential double boss play top lane now since they already opened it up?
I was going to say the only way that this is worth it is if you can stall long enough with the Haka in the 1-3 where you can threaten a double boss, and Tempo is so slow that it becomes a problem. That in mind, I still question if it's gaining the most out of this situation, but either way, it's definitely Team 12 was calculated with that kind of patience in deciding to commit to that bottom fort. Falstad ends up getting the flight in. Gus is
the threat of Dahaka alone forced that flight out. Goku has all vision on this. He's going to land the drag. They get the blow up. No, the Mocker's going to go.
Locks onto 3. Nobody can get the interrupt here. Boss comes out for the slam. Oh! He gets the alley-oop there. Passive on the Tyrael, going to get the explosion. Palm goes down, keeps Justing alive. Fan trying to recover on the backline, but Bud's coming in with those iron fists. Ends up getting the kill. 3 for nothing. Boss picked up here for Team 12.
Wow, this is double boss play. Crazy plays here by Team 12. You know, the siege camp is delaying the minion waves in that bottom lane, else that potentially could have been keep. But now this map is going to be wide open as Team 12 turn their attention towards that middle fort, taking down all major structures. The race towards 13 very much there. They're going to be 1 tribute away. Cattle got to be careful. Buds.
He's not afraid. He doesn't even have mana, and he still isn't afraid. Yeah, throwing out those fists. Welcome to Karazim, boys. He's back. Whenever you don't pick enough CC, enough wave clear, you know, available. Sadly, the meta is full of all those things, but Karazim, he's great whenever it's not around.
That was the whole point when I was talking about Tyrael was first pick for Cattle. Glaurung does not play Tyrael, at least not to my knowledge. It hasn't shown up.
He's got like 1 game on his almost an entire competitive career.
Which means that you know what you're getting out of Glaurung in the later part of the draft. It ends up being the Blaze, which has some CC, but overall, as a team, they severely lack that.
Yes, absolutely, and I agree with you. So much of this, you know, hinges on that off-lane draft and the priority from both these teams onto those heroes. 13 talent here is here for Team 12.
Butts wanted a Fist of Fury at 13, increasing the deadly reach duration. He wants to get full-on fist in your face, Trent.
I mean, as long as you don't have anything to be afraid of. And again, this is a perfect composition to get away with this play style here from Buds. 13 talent here and Curse Point potentially here. Keep in mind, 3 forts already down on the side of Tempo Storm. If Team 12 gets this plus a talent here, could be very scary. Power Slide not going to connect, but it forces a bunker.
It's an early bunker. Tyrael and Glaurung there on Blaze already out, but the bunker down as well. Goku being the focus there as he has to use his Essence. Dragon Queen out as well here for June. So a lot of big cooldowns are used, and Cattle gets blown up before the Mighty Gust comes in. Team 12 off to a good start in this fight, Dread.
Yeah, already got that man up. Now Psalm not going to be able to, or excuse me, Goku not able to land the drag. Barrel roll used. Dainsky taking a ride here with Glaurung on that jet propulsion. End up picking the tribute. Camps up on top. Camps on mid.
This should be a keep, Dread.
It should be a double keep minimum.
They're going to turn their attention directly to that top lane, which was softened up by that boss just a little bit. The Siege Giants plus the minions plus the 13 talent tier advantage. They're going to walk right through here with the Greymane Dread.
And a 13 Karazim. He punches, he sieges so hard. There goes the Sanctification. Temple Storm, they're trying to force this. They want this fight. Justin trying to buy the time. Look at that damage with the Cleansing Flame from above. Not enough to get a kill. Palm goes down. Bunker as well. Temple Storm able to zone off their keep.
Wow. If they hold this, Tahaka ends up going down. That is a major defense there for Tempo 12, or Tempo Storm. Two teams all in one, by the way. Wow, I cannot believe they managed to turn that so quickly.
Yeah, that was a great job there from Tempo Storm, and now they find themselves in what we were considering, you know, a minimum one keep, possibly double keep. Ends up to be nada here. Tempo Storm keep all of their structures available. Well, all positive forwards for that matter, but by no means is this back to square one for Tempo Storm. They are still far behind this game structurally, experience-wise, kill-wise. They've only managed to find one, but they have found that kind of window back into this game.
They also picked up Holy Ground. It's important to note we're about 35 seconds away from that bottom left boss spawning, and 16 talent tier advantage. Sometimes you'll be willing to pull that trigger on that if you're Team 12. That bottom keep sit in at about half health, so that would go directly through that. As the game goes on, the stronger the boss gets every minute that passes, so you could potentially go in there. They got their eyes on Glaurung though.
Yeah, they know he's there on the top lane. There goes the dismount. Jet propulsion's eaten. It's now just a matter of time. Can he buy the time? He's going to use the bunker. Now try and kite away. Alex and Genji are coming to try and save the day. Passive used.
They're all on the way, but there's no way they make it.
Body blocks are enough. Tempo Storm lose themselves a Glaurung. I want to just say that I am amazed that it's, you know, that's one of the first times that I feel like we've seen a lot of the teams try and do that, especially under Glaurung on things other than Tahaka. I'm really excited here to see that from Team 12, and now they got that bottom boss you were talking about before, so worried about the whole ground threats. No Glaurung for 15.
5v4, a little bit easier. Here we go. This is it, and it looks like Tempo is at least, well, it looked like they were willing to at least check, sniff it out, but again, with Greymane Li Ming, they should be able to rip through this. Now, if they don't get keep off this one, I will be extremely just flabbergasted on how this is playing out. The Siege Giants will delay a little bit. I'm curious if Tempo Storm will be looking to take a fight behind the boss, maybe even try and use a flight gust, but what are you really gusting into? So we'll see if they want to try and make that fight happen, but with Genji at the top of the map, he's going to go ahead and Hearth back. That's why you see on the minimap he's just hopping in a bush to Hearth. But he's going to come back for the defense here.
It's a really interesting position to be in for Team 12, honestly, because that top boss just spawned. And with 16, you could argue, well, isn't the double boss going to be worth it? But neither one of those secures a keep 100%, except for the first boss, because the 16 timing for Tempo Storm would be close enough after the second one. You're going to siege up here with this, but then it goes, you know, are you giving up too much on the other half of the map? Rush Talk going to come in from Tahaka as they want this keep. That seems like a lot committed just for this keep. Are they going to try and end the game?
It's possible. This boss still at about 60% health.
They're moving forward. Sanctification.
Gust and Sanctification. They're going to try so far. They get the root on the backside. Bunker's already out. The Dragon Blade is going to be there. The Mosh Pit gets the instant blow up onto the Genji. The Gust is going to be there, but it's going to be a little bit too late. Is this core starting to fall?
Starting to fall down. Boss going to throw down the stun. End up hitting 60% onto the core. The palm lands there for Cure. Team 12 have the damage here with the boss after that immediate blow up onto Psalm. And now they are one game away from taking down Tempo Storm.
Confident team. Every move that I see, every movement that I see them make in this game was a confident move, a very decisive move, a very dominant move at times. Again, the Kerosene pickup, I think, was the key there. But this is now, between game 1 and 3, they literally are just like, you know, I think this is an opportunity. Yeah, we're walking to the core. We're taking this. I mean, we're straight up winning this game right here, right now. They've done that twice against Tempo Storm. They are now being the bully in this matchup.
And there's something very important to note that I wasn't going to bring up, you know, kind of at first seeing how the series would unfold, how competitive it is, but now I think it's very relevant. Tempo has 2 series this weekend. This isn't their only showing, you know, that they're going to have to perform here. So if not only for the mentality of what this may mean if Team 12 ends up getting the win, but more importantly when it comes to hiding strategies, right? Their other opponent is not too shabby. If anything, they're higher in the standings than that of Team Freedom. It's Team Freedom. It's Team Freedom. So it is like there's so much on, like, do we now see a wild draft? Does Tempo Storm kind of break out those, I don't want to say, cheese strategies, but definitely that kind of more pocket, unique Tempo Storm, Death Ball, whatever that might be, that unique strategy here as they are backs against the wall up against Team 12, something that we've only been able to say from them as a team through all of HGC 2018 one time.
The whole thing about it is when we looked at the standings earlier, Tempo Storm sits at 9-1. Everybody else, the next closest, 7-3, 7-3, 6-4. Team 12 being the 6-4 team. So if you look at that, if they drop this series, also they're 9-2. If they drop their second series, they're 9-3, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. These other teams, if they start winning out, we're tied. And then it comes to that, positive wins over losses. And that is a scary moment. What would seem like a clear road to Sweden all of a sudden looks a little bit murkier.
It is a bit murkier. Yes, it is a little bit harder to kind of, sift through the mud here. But you know what? We have a couple of the numbers here to present for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, to better dissect, better look at how we have, gotten to this point, where we stand here. Is looking at those numbers already, Tempo Storm, with that 9-1, we were talking about what kind of impact this would have, but their game record far and above. But what you were talking about there is that dense little clump from the rest of North America when it comes to that game record, because it is different than 2017 in the fact that your score match deficit is very, very important and is the second thing determining where your seeding is going to be.
That plus minus was a big talking point as we got near the early part of the year, and it was kind of like, all right, if this team wins and if this team wins, then it comes to that win-loss record. It also affected seeding as we got there as well. So that is definitely a very notable point as we move towards the end of this phase one.
It's wild how this is all unfolding, and the fact that we're still sitting, again, this one game where Team 12, the team that was at the second of standings, has two major upsets against them, now falls down to fourth, is putting Tempo Storm, the team that we have not known to crumble under any form of pressure, all the way up to a game number 4, and now one game away. Let's figure out where we're going for the next